Beyond Skyline is the sequel that nobody knew they wanted. Beyond Skyline is the sequel to 2010's Skyline, basically about the aftermath of what happened in the first film. The first 15 minutes or so takes place at the same time as the first film, but then it really gets into the nitty-gritty as it goes beyond that. Hence the title. Frank Grillo is in the lead as an ex-cop who is trying to save his son who has been taken by the aliens. And while he's there, he discovers quite an interesting discovery when it comes down to how the aliens operate on a deeper level.
Things are looking up, kid.
He has to join up with a Mishpaka to save the world. This review is brought to you by the word of the day, Mishpaka. I don't want to give too much away about this film, but it is very interesting. While the first film does tell a complete story, it did open it up for interpretation. It opened it up for a sequel, and that's ultimately what we have here. And it does continue the story of what we last saw in the first film. The people category, let's start there. When it comes down to the acting, very similar, you know, it's just a sci-fi action film. Nobody needs to have a huge range of acting or anything like that. That's not important here. 1 out of 2 possible stars. The characters specifically, in the first film, I didn't really care too much about the characters. I don't really think I remembered the characters all that much because it focused more on what's going on outside. It was more about survival. This one's more about these characters, as the characters feel more diverse and unique than they did the first time around. And when it comes down to remembering both films, I'm going to remember this one more for the characters. 2 out of 2 possible stars. Casting. Overall, I think the casting was much better this time around than in the first film, but it's still not perfect. Frank Grillo is great, and better casting overall, just not perfect. 1 out of 2 possible stars. Importance. There's a lot going on in this movie, and a lot of that has to do with the importance of what everybody's contributing to the film. Frank Grillo's the main guy. He's the one that's coming up with all these rescuing plots, while everybody else kind of follows suit, but they have their own unique aspect of things on how they add to the story as well. Eco fighter, the baby girl is a big part of this movie as well. Everybody has an important role. 2 out of 2 possible stars. Chemistry. I feel like there was more chemistry in this one than in the last one. I didn't really feel the chemistry in the last film, even though they were trying to have some interesting chemistry. This time around, that's not the case. We have good chemistry with the father and son, with the aliens and the humans, and between the aliens themselves together. Good chemistry all around, honestly. 2 out of 2 possible stars. Writing score. Nothing really pops out with me when it comes down to dialogue, not the way people talk, nothing that they say, just all seems pretty typical there. 1 out of 2 possible stars. Balance of the film, unfortunately, like I said, there is a lot going on. There's a lot of characters that have their own kind of side stories going on. The main story is all about rescue and protection. There's a lot going on, lots of locations and lots of scenarios, so I have to say 1 out of 2 possible stars. The story itself is better than the first film. The first film was just basically survival, and none of the characters really played an important role. This time they do, and it's about protection and rescue, which is really good. Really explains to you what's going on in the first film that you might not understand, and how to take that knowledge, add to it, and do something about this alien problem they've been having. I found it really interesting how they went that direction, so I'll give that 2 out of 2 possible stars. Originality still feels original. They had 7 years to come up with a good story, and I think they actually did it here. Originality gets 2 out of 2 possible stars. Interesting? Yes, absolutely, as was the first film. This is a very interesting alien invasion franchise that I hope people start recognizing soon, because they are sort of direct to DVD, which is fine, but a lot of people don't take notice when that happens because they're also focused on theater. Check out this movie and the first film. I think they're both good. So 2 out of 2 possible stars. BTS. Behind the scenes. Visuals, definitely. The visuals were actually better this time around. I think the first one felt a little amateurish when it came down to just the regular non-CGI stuff. This time, the regular non-CGI stuff felt more like a big budget than the first film. And of course, the CGI was better in general, and there was more of it. So all around, visuals gets 2 out of 2 possible stars. Directing, I really liked what the director did here by continuing the story, by being a storyteller, continuing the story that we didn't even know had another chapter in it, and it definitely fits with the theme of what's going on in the first film. The director did a good job. 2 out of 2 possible stars. Editing, nothing really pops out at me for that. Seems like a typical average editing job. 1 out of 2 possible stars. Advertisement, it was as advertised. 2 out of 2 possible stars. Music didn't really jump out at me. Nothing that I would really listen to on a soundtrack or a score, so for that I'll just give that 1 out of 2 possible stars. Narrative arc. With the introduction, we get introduced to the main characters all around before the aliens show up, which is the inciting incident. Just like the other one, aliens show up, there's nothing you can really do because people are dying, getting sucked into the ships like a vacuum. That's the inciting incident. The obstacles, of course, are fighting aliens all around, which is perfect. The climax is even better than the last film. Definite culmination of everything else, and the following action calms down and returns to a new norm that's different than the way it began. 2 out of 2 possible stars for each of those subcategories, so 10 out of 10 possible stars. Entertainment. Do I consider this a rewatchable movie? Just like the first one, I would say absolutely. It is a whole heck of a lot of fun, and it sucks me in throughout. So with rewatchability, fun, and sucking me in, all get 2 out of 2 possible stars. Do I have an impulse to buy it or own it? I don't think I would buy it, but I might add it to my wish list for my birthday or Christmas. It's not too late. It's a good movie to own. I wouldn't mind having this, but I wouldn't buy full price. So 1 out of 2 possible stars. Impulse to talk about it? Yeah, I think you have an impulse to talk about it. Other than my review here, I wouldn't mind having a discussion about it because it is interesting. I won't be rushing off to somebody saying, you gotta see this movie, you gotta see this movie, because it's not one of those types of films, but it is a good discussion-worthy film. 1 out of 2 possible stars. Specialty. So with Specialty, I want to know, this is based off of Skyline. It is the sequel to Skyline, so does it feel like Skyline? Yes, especially with the beginning, it really mends the two together. You could create one big movie if you really wanted to, because the two just feel very similar, and they are happening at the same time at the very beginning, so that makes it even easier to mend the two movies. 10 out of 10 possible stars there. As a sequel, does it feel like it was a needed sequel, and does it add anything new ultimately? Both of those, I say yes, because it does feel like it was needed. I didn't know I needed it, but this proves there was so much more to the story that it needed to tell yet. Also, with the adding of something new, I won't ruin what's going on here, but it has something to do with Laney's baby. Laney is from the first film. 10 out of 10 possible stars. As with the first film, how's the action? Even better. I mean, you got Iwo from Iwo, I'm not sure how you say his name, from The Raid Redemption. Actually gets 10 out of 10 possible stars. Once again, thriller. Honestly, I don't think it's as threatening or suspenseful as the first film. I feel like it's a lot more fun in general, but that doesn't equal out to thrilling. 5 out of 10 possible stars. And finally, was it halfway decent? You bet your booty it was. 10 out of 10 possible stars. If we add all that up, we get 86 out of 100 possible stars, otherwise known as 86%. The same exact score the first film got. What a coinky-dink. Guys, tell me what you thought about Beyond Skyline in the comments below. Follow me on Trek.tv and Twitter at username IAMDWG. That's IAMDWG. And for YouTube, you know you can follow me. Hit that like button and hit that bell to be notified when I come out with my newest review. That will be on Monday, and it will be Star Wars The Last Jedi, so look forward to that. Peace out, guys. Have a good weekend.